Yeah, and
So
speaking of the Kings, that is where the show match has a different structure, than a normal tournament, normal show match over here. We're kind of doing it's a King of the Hill setup. So we have GUA and Mr. Munch starting off on the first match, like we mentioned, and it is one of those winner stays on, and you cannot repeat the same civs that you have won with previously to end up becoming the king. So that's where first matchup we got Mr. Munch on HRE and GUA playing as the Abbasid Dynasty.
yeah, I'm very excited. I personally, I think that Mr. Munch starting off with HRE makes perfect sense. Going with what is arguably the best civ right now. I would say. I know that is a very popular opinion. They have become the S tier in the current meta.
Yeah, it's
So
it's really not even arguably. I think the 99.9% of the people would say HRE is the best out there. It is a automatic ban in most tournaments if there are bans. And so it's one that the meta has changed away from what they used to be, which was get to Castle Age as fast as possible and get the relics, and then you start coming online. Now it's more of this feudal age. Hey, I got marching drills. I got a better eco with the chapel, and I'm just gonna out kind of tempo you from there. So let's see how Mr. Munch decides to end up playing it here. And I guess we can go ahead and get jumped on into it since I know they started their game just a little bit ago.
yeah, we are set to go right into the game. And yeah, so we have GUA in the purple as the Abbasid, going right, getting his House of Wisdom up, getting on the gold and the berries, and then on the other side of the map we have Mr. Munch playing as the teal HRE. And who do you favor spawn-wise?
Early on in the spawns, I feel like both of the civs, it's kind of one of those that ABBA doesn't care as much. It kind of depends on their game plan. Usually they're going secondary TC. So where's the stone? How connected are your kind of initial houses and buildings going to be? And GUA has a pretty concise spawn. It's not like HRE is going to have that, first archer across the map at minute 4. So they need to be worried about their, secondary TC placement. And over on the side of Mr. Munch, it's really where you're going to place the chapel. And he has a great spot where he's going to be able to get his wood line, get his gold mine, and all the starting sheep as well.
Oh yeah. I will say I think that GUA has the better spawn just because his deer packs are right next to each other. Like double deer pack and berries and gold all in one location.
It's super nice, but at the same time, I always say this, and this is one where I've learned from casting a lot over time, that it can also be a blessing in disguise having all of your resources kind of consolidated to one location. If he doesn't get some early walls up, then Mr. Munch has a great spot to continually just send his units, try to pressure, consistently harass, because you said it, he's got 2 deers, he's got another set of berries. His only other secondary food source would be that kind of berry spawn closer to his House of Wisdom that is the closest one to Mr. Munch's base. So that kind of might be one of the main focuses of Mr. Munch, which we also just mentioned, should be playing this one more of a feudal age aggression, utilizing marching drills, utilizing some quicker military, and going up with that chapel. Actually, on the backside, wanted to be a little bit safer with it long term, figured that the front might be a little bit risky, but sacrifices the early extra little bit of gold income that he could have.
Yeah, I'm personally rather shocked by this Aachen. It's extremely defensive in its location, and I feel like that's just, I know that the military wing is the common thing that you see out of Abbasid, but I don't think you have to respect the military wing so much that you take a bad on, you know?
Yeah,
like, I think
it might not be
just
the military wing alone. It might just be later on that he says, all right, I don't want a front side chapel and having, camel, well, not camel lancers, because that'd be a humans, but, camel archers or just knights once Castle Age hits around, roaming on the front side. It's more of a kind of consolidated, walled off backside, and that's going to be his food. So it's kind of like, as long as he can protect his gold, he's not as worried. You can always make another prelate, send it out there if you want the extra inspiration. And then you have another prelate out for when you need to go secure the relics, like you're going to plan on anyways.
right.
But you mentioned military wing, and we actually see GUA going up with culture here.
I have to say, I am so happy to see this, because I think this is a great way to show kind of the dynamic of playing like versus old HRE, if you want to call it that, of like, you know, just fast castle ASAP, which is where you want to go versus them. But versus like this feudal HRE, I don't think Culture Wing is actually the right play.
Yeah,
So,
it might be one that, you know, hasn't played the matchup as much recently. It's one that, you know, once you get off your usual civs, you're not as used to playing a lot of these, and you also don't know exactly how your opponent's going to be playing either.
yeah, no, I think this is good. This is shaping up to be an absolute great matchup. Preservation of GiveUA ages up with the Culture Wing. Preservation of knowledge comes in immediate. Like he was spamming the hot.
Also, you can tell that he really wants to get the quicker Golden Age Tier 1, dropping 5 houses, 6 houses now already, to make sure that he has that extended on out.
I can never remember Golden Age Tier 1. Okay, it's the 15% resource, right?
Gather rate.
I have forgotten how Golden Age, like what the Golden Age tiers are, because I keep getting the Abbasid.
They actually have it to where it makes a ton of sense in my eyes. Golden Age Tier 1, you get that early initial gather rate. All your villagers just get that early boost, which is super, super nice. And then a lot of times you're getting the Golden Age Tier 2 right as you're aging up to castle, and that's right as you need a lot of these research techs that are a little bit longer. In feudal age, your research techs aren't that big of a deal. It's usually, you know, 45 seconds or so, you know, maybe a minute and a half. And then right when you hit castle, they're much longer, and that's when you get the quicker research time.
No, that makes perfect sense, and that's a really good way of looking at it. And I'm gonna.
You might need to raise your volume, Draxos.
I will bring that up.
I raised you on my thing. I didn't know if it was on the stream or me.
No,
but we can already see early military on both sides.
Yeah, this is wow, blacksmith out of Munch. That is. I was not expecting that. Spearmen, archers versus. Not really seeing. Oh, holy crap! Did you see these sheep that GiveUA has?
Yeah, he ended up getting a ton of early sheep, and that really is a tempo denier to the HRE that we were just talking about, that wants to play this more feudally. We can already see TheMrMunch has dropped the farm, but I think that was not out of, you know, we'll see Beastie and a lot of players starting to drop early farms now, but I don't think this one was just out of the wanting of needing, you know, hey, I got some wood, I'm going to drop an early farm. This is out of necessity. If he doesn't start dropping some farms now, he is going to run out of sheep, as I think he is just swung on top of the last sheep that he has on his side.
Yeah, and neither of his deer are close. Well, the front one, I guess, is relatively close, but you know that's an exposed towards the enemy. You don't want to be taking it necessarily. So yeah, this is a bit of a problem for Munch, and he's going 3 archery ranges.
He is going triple, GiveUA going triple range against the other triple range as well. So we kind of have it matched up on either side. The big drawback for GiveUA is he didn't go military wing, which we talked about. So he doesn't have the extra health on those archers, which matters significantly in these all infantry fights. And not only that, we can already see TheMrMunch, he's got a single early men-at-arms. It might not be that great, but it does soak up a little bit of some extra volley or two from those archers.
Oh yeah, I think that's really the make or break factor. You know, marching drills is great, don't get me wrong, but having men-at-arms when your opponent doesn't in an archer fight is to me that's the game. You know, like you can't really compete with that. And we do have a Camel Archer coming out of GiveUA, and his attempt to deal with the opposing men-at-arms from TheMrMunch, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Camel Archers are so expensive.
They're very expensive. They do great against those men-at-arms. The big problem is that they kind of can still get sniped out pretty effectively by that archer mass. They're really, really tanky, so it will take a couple volleys, but I think really where GiveUA can use this is trying to do a little bit of raiding, trying to, you know, maybe hit the gold a little bit here and there, maybe hit a unit that's in reinforcing, but it doesn't look like TheMrMunch is going to fall victim in any of that. He's kind of making sure he groups up his archers before he moves forward with another set.
Yeah, Mr. Munch is playing this beautifully. I have to say, this is one of, this has just been a phenomenal game by him. And I think GiveUA is definitely, considering on how he got caught flat-footed by going Culture Wing, because like I said, I think he was expecting a fast castle out of Mr. Munch. Considering how he got caught flat-footed, I think he's doing an excellent job to kind of handle this awkward situation. But still, it's just so rough. And a fourth archery range coming down from Mr. Munch. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and GiveUA scouts it out though, so he knows this pressure's coming. He's just like, where is it? So he's doing the thing though that he needs to do. He's continuing to produce. Mr. Munch going ahead and dropping some proactive walls. He's gonna have to move out to the next set of food source here in the next little bit, as he's been on those berries and he's been dropping farms. He's up to 5 farms at home, but with this much production, you'd expect him to potentially need more, but shows the strength of the chapel as well.
Yeah, his wood per minute is actually insane, despite the fact that he has, he has the same wood per minute as GiveUA, but he has 7 less villagers.
Yeah, and that's really the key of this chapel. There is going to be a point though that those villagers are going to stop being inspired. They break out of that chapel range, and that's really where GiveUA can start to make a little bit of a comeback here. There is still only 2 men-at-arms on the other side, so the fact that it is just pure archer ball versus pure archer ball leans into Mr. Munch again, because he has that little bit of extra movement speed.
No, I completely agree. I'm not certain I'm not certain what GiveUA's plan is, especially since he's off of gold, so it's not like he's going to be able to try to go castle and get glums.
He's done a great job roaming with those couple camel archers that we mentioned, and actually did exactly what I was wanting him to do with it. We see there's a worker kill over on the side of Mr. Munch, and he's actually down a couple villagers, so it must be a minute, either a little bit of idle time, or maybe he made a second prelate. No, there's still only 1 prelate. So yeah, must have been a little bit of idle time as well as the villager pick off.
Yep. And it looks like we're starting to see the beginnings of the flash here. The scout for Mr. Munch is barely making it out, but he's kind of leading the GiveUA into his own army.
Yeah, the scary part for GiveUA, he doesn't have a scout right now. He's actually making another scout out of his town center, so that villager lead that he built up is about to just kind of get diminished again. But he needs that vision, needs that information, because he has no idea how many archers he may be up against. He actually does have the numbers, he does have the lead right now, but now there's a few extra men-at-arms as well.
This is just absolute, like we're just waiting for somebody to drop. I can't. I'm so curious on who's going to start this fight.
And Mr. Munch is getting to that point where he's starting to get closer to out of that chapel range. Fight's about to break down though. Engagement's happening. Men-at-arms running on forward, but there's so many archers now. Men-at-arms might not be as effective. You can see a couple volleys, and Men-at-arms will drop, but that has just given enough time for Mr. Munch to even out the numbers, and GiveUA doesn't have all the archers here. Has to fall back, and Mr. Munch the whole time falling back has the movement speed. This is really bad for GiveUA.
Yeah, this is an absolute disaster for GiveUA, but at the same time, he does have his camel archers picking off reinforcements, so the fight isn't getting worse, at least. But yeah, he is just being completely chased down with this superior archer drills. He's putting in so much work.
Yeah, definitely bled a significant amount of units, and the bigger problem for him is that Mr. Munch has made this farm transition all during this time. GiveUA is still all on those secondary food resources. He has 24 on those sheep under his town center, just now running lower on those. He needs to move out to those food resources, I said, that we all talked about early on, and this is right when Mr. Munch is back on the gas, back pedal to the metal, and ready to put the pressure on.
We do have a military wing again, by the way. Like, GiveUA has recognized that he cannot fight this with what he has. He has to go up, he has to get positive moves, and he has to get efficiency for this fight.
Scout has been taken down, a few villagers lost. GiveUA has a lot of the deer to fall back to. It will take a lot of time for Mr. Munch to circle around with that army if he plans on going to pressure it, and GiveUA still has those few Camel Archers circling, being annoying, pesky little buggers.
I am shocked that these Camel Archers are still alive. Like, they were just picking off solar reinforcements one at a time. I think they ended up killing like four or five archers.
Yeah, and not only are they alive, they're at pretty significant amount of health. Regnant's Cathedral going down to match the Castle Age timing, but there's 13 on top of it, so a lot quicker production time, even though it was dropped late. TheMrMunch gonna be a pretty similar timing here.
And these Camel Archers managed to get another village.
But finally, they should end up losing their life. Nowhere to run around the market, and should have an easy cutoff here by TheMrMunch.
Yeah, Munch is just bringing the hammer down on these Camel Archers. He doesn't miss it. I think he's... Everyone's tired of Desert Raiders, and they're tired of Camel Archers at this point, you know?
Jaxus is still quiet. This is the point, though, that it might seem like GiveUA kind of has this deficit, had that kind of bad trade, but he immediately now gets that upgrade. He gets boot camp. He should get composite bows in queue right after that, and the fight completely turns around where he should be the one that wins out. He has a few Camel Lancers to match the men-at-arms number, and then still shred through the archer mass as well.
Yeah, the boot camp is already finishing up. So, and Veteran C is about halfway, and field mangonels are on the way as well. This is one of the best things about Abbasid, if you ask me, being able to build a mangonel.
TheMrMunch splits off a group of 12 archers as well, so if the fight ends up getting taken, he does not have all of his units here, so the numbers aren't going to be fully true. GiveUA is trying to cut off some of the relic gathering. TheMrMunch actually going for the farther one, but both armies moving up. There's no scout here for TheMrMunch, so there might be a big clash without him being aware. He does have the movement speed. Fight's starting to go down, and look at the archer difference. The veterancy isn't in for TheMrMunch yet. He focused on getting more of the relics out, getting some of the other upgrades, so significantly behind here, but will be able to just run away after the trades. This is the big difference. If the civs were reversed earlier on, we saw how much extra damage TheMrMunch got in.
Yeah, Marching Drills has just paid, has basically just saved TheMrMunch's life. Like, I think he would be completely out of this game if he didn't have that, you know, civ bonus to get his army out. But I don't think it's enough. Veterancy is 10 seconds out. Like, how many archers are?
Veterancy is about to be through for TheMrMunch, and not only that, he's also getting the wedged rivets in, so he's gonna have a little bit of some extra range defense. GiveUA just finished his up as well, but this is a defensive game. Outpost is there. There's also the barracks immediately pumping out men-at-arms. GiveUA's fighting without the mangonel as well.
Yeah, oh god, so many villagers are just going down on this gold. This is
gold villagers starting to be taken down. There's not really a lot of ability to defend this here. The mangonel is just being fully surrounded by GiveUA, constantly firing off, farms being idled, gold being idled. Golden Age Tier 2 has been activated, just like when I said, I wish it had been a little bit earlier. That group of 12 archers started to cut off reinforcements though.
Oh, that. And we actually do have a siege workshop down for TheMrMunch. He is trying to get a Springfield out as fast as possible to try and combat this mangonel, as it is just running roughshod through his base. But
the sad part for me for GiveUA is those two Camel Lancers haven't done anything but circle and continue to move around a relic. Mangonel trying to set up again, and GiveUA focuses on the gold villagers. All of them get taken under half health. Now it's turning for archers. There's only archers here for TheMrMunch, and another Mangonel shot. GiveUA's outmassed significantly, but Mangonel is still alive and still taking decent trades. Finally falls from the Springfield that TheMrMunch played out. But has this been enough damage for GiveUA? Has he made enough of a difference here? Only one relic secured still at this point in time.
Yeah, one relic between both players. I thought it was just going to be, you know, only one relic for TheMrMunch. He's managed to clean up this army surprisingly well, despite the issues he had getting that mangonel, dealing with that mangonel and getting 3 shots off. but there is a spring holdout for any future ones that come out, and it looks like Mr. Munch has started to stabilize here.
Starting to stabilize, but is he ready for the army transition that GUA has already been prepping? It's a men-at-arms horseman switch. Men-at-arms just to throw into that tanky front line, kill any of the spears, dive onto the men-at-arms, just tank up some shots, and horsemen to actually do the damage against the archers. Mr. Munch just spots out the first men-at-arms though, so knows what's coming, and immediately crossbow in queue now. Still will be countered out by the horsemen though. It's just a lot more Ghulams, and Ghulams are just that unit that if the fight gets taken, it's all infantry right now for Mr. Munch. Very hard to deal with them.
Yeah, did you see GUA actually threw down a second TC on the back deer.
He is building it now, so it's about to end up coming up.
Yeah, he's already got a villager lead since he got several kills on those
gold villagers. So he will start to build up his lead, but this is where Mr. Munch, you can already see the resources in the bank. He doesn't need to keep producing. He has this lead. He can just go up to Imperial, do the typical HRE thing, stabilize, have a few relics, get that passive gold income, and then just go up with Swabia and have that villager lead skyrocket. However, GUA is the one who has been able to secure up a few of these relics behind this.
Yeah, I'm rather surprised that Mr. Munch captured this southern sacred site instead of going for the relic right next to it. I actually don't think he can see. Yeah, he hasn't scouted that relic.
That's what I was about to mention. He has the big oversight of not scouting enough of the map, so wasn't able to get control of a few of those relics, and that's what you need as HRE. However, still going up with Swabia. He is going to Imperial Age and still has that military lead as we speak.
Yeah, and that's a really good Swabia position. I really like that since it's kind of covering the farms to give a little bit of extra protection to this Aachen farm.
Yep, the big concerning spot now is Mr. Munch's gold. He's moving out to the gold now. GUA's circling with a few horsemen, so right as he goes up to Swabia, he's not going to have the gold for the upgrades. He ran out of gold here, didn't move out to a secondary gold. This is a huge timing pickup for GUA. Here's the Swabia as well.
Yeah, the only
circling around with these horsemen for a bit.
Yeah, the only saving grace that Mr. Munch has here is that these are just feudal horsemen. They're not bad. Otherwise, they would have killed even more villagers.
Upgrade is coming through, as well as the extra insulated helm, so melee armor for the units for GUA. He's just kind of getting a little bit of everything. Has a big mass though. His mass, much more quality. Ghulams, crossbows, and he has the double mangonels and the horsemen to dive the springald as well to force it back. Whereas Mr. Munch still has all of those archers, and the archers can't even deal with the Ghulams on top of the farms. GUA just doing a little bit of extra idling during this timing that Mr. Munch needs so bad.
Yeah, this is just turned into an absolute nightmare for Mr. Munch. Swabia prints villagers, but if you're losing villagers every 7 seconds, it can't catch you up. Which is just kind of situation that we're stuck.
And GUA's next reinforcing mass has arrived, has the crossbows sniping out any of the units. There's still archers for Mr. Munch, so he really should be microing down the crossbows, but instead, there's so much going on. He was first on the Ghulams, now swapping over to the crossbows. But GUA, multiple different spots. He's still over denying the gold. Mr. Munch rushing down a tower. This is where we need Cal with the split screen over here, because there are fights on two fronts, and GUA is still just putting the pressure down. There's still a 12 health Gulam in the farms too.
Oh no, that Gulam didn't die. Oh, it finally went down to the Swabia.
It's taken down by the TC.
This is a disaster.
Was this enough damage? GUA's he's reinforcing again. He's about to come back in. Mr. Munch has numbers, but it's 50 range units against double mangonels.
Yeah, I don't know how Mr. Munch is going to save this. I think his best hope here is honestly hand cannon. Like he's got the archery range, but he doesn't have the gold income or even the food income with on how idle he's been.
The way to save this is doing the typical HRE thing. A couple outposts, a couple cannon bombarded placements inside of there, but the first couple mangonel shots land on the farms, land on a little bit of the range mass. He's falling back and immediately sends the horseman and Gulam's over to that Springle. Mangonel should turn around. Springle already down
oh
that.
my.
Another great double shot from the mangonels over the wood line.
Oh my
This is where Mr. Munch is at a huge worry. And another couple shots come in. Farms getting destroyed. Mangonel needs to turn around though, as the Springle never fell. Villagers got a heal off.
Yeah, Munch managed to pull the boys to save that Springle, but I think it's too little too late. Like, it's chasing the mangonels off, but so much was lost. Keep in mind, when this fight started, Munch had the army numbers in his favor. He might not have had the quality, but at least he had the quantity. And now it's been reversed. It's both quality and quantity going into GiveUA's corner.
And those camel riders are still just circling, waiting. The chop through happened. Mr. Munch immediately noticed it though, but GiveUA doesn't care about the wood line. He cares about that gold over there. He saw how many villagers went to that eastern gold vein. He knows that that's the last gold on the map, and just playing the slow, reinforce the sacred sites. He's about to put an outpost on a few different ones, get some extra vision, get some extra control, and even I think take some deer from the north side of the map from where Mr. Munch hasn't grabbed it.
Yeah, GiveUA has the blueprint for an outpost right on those deer, which is I absolutely love it. I think that throwing towers down in the late game just in random spots to keep pushing is one of the best things that have unfortunately, the villagers actually get caught out on their way over to pick it up or to build it up. So
another outpost goes down for Munch. We said the way back in it, it's cannon emplacements, bombard emplacements in that outpost, but GiveUA knocking on the front doorstep again, diving that farm line, idling out all of the key food economy, and he knows Mr. Munch isn't on any of that other food.
Yeah, and well, he's not only idling out the food, he was idling out the gold as well.
Springle stepping up though, immediately sniped down one of the mangonels. That is the key benefit here for GiveUA that's keeping him in it. Yeah, he has the numbers, but he also had that siege superiority. Kills the front line that Mr. Munch had. There's still a decent range mass, and GiveUA falls back due to the defensive nature of HRE, due to all of that production right next to where his units are. And again, marching drills starting to pay off. GiveUA's running away and taking a little bit of extra damage. Needs his reinforcements to arrive.
Yeah, this has just become a very scrappy game. I was not expecting us to see something like this. Also, there is GiveUA does have sacred sites, and he's putting towers on top of them as well.
Yeah, he got a few outposts there, but no reinforcements inside of them, so he just has the vision of it. Does he have the mobile units to go deny this on up? There's 10 units on the bottom sacred site, and right as he pushes down to the bottom one, this should give vision for Mr. Munch to, again, just step up into the center one. Units starting to run on pass, so still does secure up the sacred site, and GiveUA actually has dropped a third TC now behind this to equalize that villager deficit that he would have found himself in, and still will find himself in, just not as bad.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a little bit of a scrap over that center sacred site as some horsemen and Gulams run in, and you kind of realize that they're actually considerably outmassed. They need to fall on back, but I think Munch is gonna find this third TC and find out that he's not so as economically ahead as he thinks he is.
Yeah, not only should he find this third TC, he could have, I believe, denied that middle sacred site. GiveUA falling back with his mass yet again, and kind of just posturing in front of Munch's base, kind of circling around, making sure that Munch isn't able to expand on out. Chopping way through that wood line now on the back side though, so there is an easy hole into the base, an easy hole into Swabia, and GiveUA is actually proactively starting to deny all the gold in the map. I think that's his main focus. He sees this is going to be a long game. He knows what HRE needs, loves, and he has the relic bonus, the sacred site. So HRE doesn't have the typical Exodia setup. Mangonel immediately sniped out by the Ghulams. This is the fight that GiveUA wants to take here. It's finally not right on top of the production. He has his mass. He has some of his reinforcements that could arrive there as well, especially being Horseman a little bit more mobile.
Oh yeah, this fight is,
Well, he fell back away right as his other Ghulams arrived and decided not to finish off the mass, which he easily could have, having, I think, about 10 extra units or so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not the only one that was confused by that then. Okay, I was.
Well, this is also one, he doesn't have a scout. It's in stealth forest, so he can't see the numbers. He doesn't know exactly what's there. But finally, that chopping through on the wood line has come back to bite TheMrMunch. The horsemen are starting to run through Swabia. More outposts on the top side, and the outpost that already has spotted out TheMrMunch trying to go to that other gold vein. TheMrMunch dropped an outpost, but they didn't jump inside and had to run away because of military units from GiveUA.
Yeah, and the outpost that GiveUA built is also it's fortified. I thought it was just...
Look at the idle time by Munch right now. He's running around with 40, 50 plus villagers that just aren't gathering any resources. Doesn't have a safe wood line. Is just moving all the way across the map. Hasn't been able to grab that safe gold yet, so has had more losses on the north side. GiveUA, he's everywhere, and TheMrMunch can't handle it right now.
Yeah, he's so far. GiveUA has so many units like on the peripheries, but he's also pushing into production now. So he's starting to take up
Imperial Age has finished for GiveUA. He's gotten that economic wing, so the farm transition that he's already done would be cheaper. But more importantly, he does have that agriculture upgrade now, so all of those farms are about to turn even further online. He's already at 2,400 food per minute. Watch this thing get to 3K plus here in not too long.
Oh yeah. He'll start going down, getting sniped out by crossbows there. Oh god,
I don't know
GiveUA
if that's the fight GiveUA wants to take. He should be fighting the crossbows, not the Springles.
Yeah, he was. Oh no, he was target firing, and I think that might end up costing him this army. There's only 17 crossbowmen left here. Like there were about 30 here a moment ago. That is a massive success.
Still rattled with these villagers. He's all over the place. Doesn't have the typical cannon emplacements like you see HRE have. I think he has one outpost that has cannon emplacements. Still hasn't been able to secure the next secondary safe gold. Every gold he tries to take with villagers, they send out and they die. Mangonel getting dove upon by TheMrMunch. He needs one more swing, able to get it, but GiveUA now has the imp upgrades. GiveUA was fighting for so long in Castle Age, and it felt like he was dominating with Castle Age units. Now he's got imp upgrades. These are elite horsemen, and TheMrMunch has mainly the ranged mask. Spears are starting to come. I just don't see any in the front line yet.
Yeah, and it's also elite. It's also elite crossbowmen as well. So like these elite men-at-arms that Munch has mixed in, they're not going to last anything.
Oh, and we just heard the sacred site ding. It's 3 minutes. Somehow GiveUA has been able to hold these sacred sites, and he doesn't have the typical keeps on sacred sites and a bunch of walls. The northern sacred site actually has nothing on it. He's just been able to control the map, continually rate, continually get TheMrMunch on his heels, just like he is now. TheMrMunch trying to step up, has a cannon, has a bombard, moving forward with Springles, trying to drop a keep as well, but the horsemen are on the back line. They're on top of the siege, they're on top of the crossbows, and Munch, again, the spears are late, the spears aren't arriving fast enough.
The horsemen are about to get on top of this lobby of the farmlands as well, and then there's also a small skirmish at the Munch is, I don't think he can do it. Like, even if he secures this keep and this gold, then like how's he gonna get the sacred sites?
49 villagers are moving forward to secure that keep. He is committing hard after that. There's some horsemen not too far away. The crossbows are already firing. There's Ghulams there. I think GiveUA, even if this keep goes up, there's going to be so much damage done on TheMrMunch's economy. There's been so much idle time. He's diving the farms during this, so there's more units that can't help defend, can't help push this mass.
Yeah, and I think it's over. Yeah, like the keep goes up, but at what cost? There's...
Well, the funny thing is this keep wasn't even for a sacred site. This keep was for the 8K gold vein. but he needs the sacred site. It's a minute and 20 seconds. GiveUA still fighting under the keep. He doesn't have a care in the world. He's dropping his own keep now.
Oh, and the keep, and this keep protects the sacred site. Like, this keep fights over what's important too. If it
the
ever
northern
goes up,
sacred
of course,
site
get out of the
is
way.
still wide open though, and remember, all you need is a unit on there now to delay it, to stop the timer. Southern sacred site's reinforced, so all GiveUA needs to do now is mainly send the military towards the north side. That keep though is actually, I don't know if GiveUA's keep will go up with the keep from TheMrMunch.
It might not go up, but I don't think it matters. It's just the keep going up isn't important. It's just the attention that it's causing TheMrMunch to, like, it's grabbing his attention. It's a giant, like, hey, look at me sign. And I don't think TheMrMunch has even realized that the northern sacred site is undefended. He just throws villagers on top of the central one in order to slow down.
I mean, he's got Swabby. He has zero care in the world for these villagers. There's been 15 or so horsemen consistently circling the base of the HRE, doing tons of damage, idle time. Now they're circling back around. TheMrMunch is not going to be able to deny the sacred site. His economy has dropped below GiveUA's. GiveUA has resources in the bank, consistently reinforcing with keeps, and TheMrMunch throws in the towel. Game number 1 of the King of the Hill goes to GiveUA.
Oh wow, that was, you know, I was expecting game 1 to, you know, have a bit of action, but that was far more than I was personally thinking we were going to see. That was just constant fighting the entire game.
Yeah,
And
I mean, normally with Abba, it's not quite the constantly fighting the entire game, but when you're playing the way new HRE does, it forces fights early on. They have the movement speed. They take the fights that they want to.
yeah, oh man, that was a great game. That was a great first game to start off on, and that's all I could ask for going into that.